widow's offering. As he looked up, Jesus saw the rich putting their gifts into the temple treasury. He also saw a poor widow put in 2 very small copper coins. "I tell you the truth," he said. "This poor widow has put in more than all the others. All these people gave their gifts out of their wealth, but she, out of her poverty, put in all she had to live on." Signs of the end of the age. Some of his disciples were remarking about how the temple was adorned with beautiful stones and with gifts dedicated to God. But Jesus said, As for what you see here, the time will come when not one stone will be left on another. Every one of them will be thrown down." "Teacher," they asked, "when will these things happen? And what will be the sign that they are about to take place?" He replied, "Watch out that you are not deceived. For many will come in many names, claiming, 'I am he,' and the time is near. Do not follow them. When you hear of wars and revolutions, do not be frightened. These things must happen first, but the end will not come right away." You may be seated. Blessed by the reading of God's word.
If you watched the news this week, you may have picked up that Amazon has been granted a patent for a bracelet. But this bracelet is for their employees because it monitors their every move and action. It will let them know if the employee puts the bin in the right place, or if they place the right product in the right bin. It will also keep track of the time that they are away from their workstation. And they will be able to print out, it said, a guideline for every employee and their work and how they progress. Now, Amazon says they haven't started using it yet, but they have a patent for it. Now, why would you get a patent for it if you don't plan on using it? Another ad this week about an internet provider and phone service brags that it can keep track of your family wherever they are. Now, your cell phone company can do that anyway now, unless you turn that little thing off that tells it where you are. It can track where you are. If you haven't turned that off and your cell phone is on, they know you're here right now. Bothering you? Jesus, as he begins this journey to Jerusalem, is now under constant scrutiny. His every move, his every action is being watched. They are looking for ways to track him. They're looking for ways to catch him doing something wrong. He can't even have a dinner with friends without them knowing what's going on. Now, that was just a matter of society. That wasn't anything really. Because, you know, most of the courtyards and dinners were in open courtyards. And when you were invited to a banquet or when you were invited to a friend's house, the town would also show up and stand around and watch what you're eating and listen to your conversation. People would be wandering in and out. You know, it amazed me in the Philippines and in Thailand, more so in Thailand in the villages, but you know, in the worship service, a chicken would wander through, a dog would wander through. Nobody seemed to mind. Only for those of us that aren't used to having chickens and dogs in the sanctuary. It kind of raise our eyebrows a little bit, but we get used to it. There was nothing new about having people listen. Ken Bailey talks about living in Middle Eastern villages today, and he says you'll sneeze in one house and 4 houses down the street, they say, God bless you. There's no secret. But Jesus is criticized because why? He ate with the wrong people. He ate with sinners. He ate with you, he ate with me. He healed on the wrong day. It wasn't the fact that Jesus healed, it was the fact that he healed on the wrong day. He healed on the Sabbath. The Mishnah says that if the most medical treatment you can do on the Sabbath day is to anoint a wound from a thimble no bigger than the little toe of a newborn baby. That's all you could do under the law in Hebrews. Jesus healed on the Sabbath. And he had too much fun. I don't think we understand that about Jesus, but he liked parties. He had too much fun. You guys, when you're going out to Pizza Hut or Domino's or someplace afterwards, you're going to have fun, right? You're not going to sit there and mope about. You're going to laugh. You're going to enjoy yourself. And Jesus was criticized. He has too much fun. He was being watched. His every move. My grandmother's sister lived at the end of my grandmother's driveway. And my grandmother had a long driveway. My uncle nicknamed her Aunt Jackie. And that stuck. But she knew everyone that went in and out of my grandmother's house. We think she just sat in her bedroom window and watched her sister's house. We were vacationing there one time, and my grandmother and aunt said they'd watch our oldest, Jimmy, so we could go out and go to the movies. And my grandmother said, we had no more. We walked. It was a short distance at the time. She said, we had no more probably gotten to the movie theater and bought the ticket when Aunt Jabby called and wanted to know why she was letting us go to the movies, because it was a sin for Christians to go to the movie. And I said, how did she know where we went? She can't see that far. Jesus was being so scrutinized like this. As he moves towards Jerusalem and the Passover, it becomes intensified. Too many of the wrong people were following him. Sinners, Gentiles. He even had women in his group. And maybe they were getting too many questions. What do you think about Jesus? Is he the Messiah? They don't want to answer these questions. And the more the people that follow him, I would imagine, the more they're being questioned. Who is this man? And they begin to go more and more critical of what he said. You know, they bring up the temple. Its beauty. And Jesus says something that, you know, this is just a human building. It's going to crumble and fall. No matter how well it is constructed, it's going to crumble and fall, and there will be rocks upon rocks upon rocks. Now, if you want to get in trouble, criticize the temple. But Jesus is saying that people are more important than a building. People and relationships are more important than stone and mortar. And he becomes more and more critical. Then he tells stories. Can you imagine them saying, oh, look at this poor old woman, she can hardly even make it up. You know how they gave offerings. Someone didn't pass the plate. You brought your offering in and presented it to the temple. And those who were giving a big offering would often hire musicians to play so that everybody would wonder what was going on as they placed their gift on the altar. They wanted to be seen. Look how much I'm giving. I don't know, Ellen DeGeneres interviewed Bill Gates a couple weeks ago. I don't know if any of you saw that. I just happened to stumble across it. And she talked with him about his money. And he admitted that all of the money that he's given to his foundation, he doesn't miss. He's got a whole lot more than that. But he says he tries to do it. He wished he could do it more quietly. He said he doesn't want him to be in the money. Why? And in the midst of all of this poor woman gives 2 pennies. Copper coins. I imagine she snuck in when she thought nobody was looking. Nobody was watching. And she gives all that she has. Would you mind if she kept 1 so she could buy supper that night? Wouldn't be too much to ask, would it, if she gave 50% rather than 100%? Jesus is criticizing. And they're showing. Because they'd rather show than do. Read Mark 13. Read Matthew 24 and 25. Jesus begins to criticize what shouldn't be criticized in their eyes. Jesus is open the door. I got a phone call a few years ago when we were still in Maine. It was from a pastor that I knew well. And he said, "Would you pray for us?" And I said, "Sure." He said, "Can I take the time for me to tell you a story?" "Sure." He said, "You know where our church is, Center City, downtown. It literally was the center, or really still is, the center of the downtown city." He said, "You know that we have a fully licensed commercial kitchen and a dining room attached that you can get to from the outside. You don't have to go through the church. You can go in the door and get in the dining room from the outside." Yeah, knew all that. Been there, had some great meals there. He said, "A group has come to us with a proposal. We have a growing homeless community. And they want to use our kitchen 3 days a week and prepare a meal and offer it to these homeless folk for free. It will not cost us anything. They even have gotten a grant to pay for the extra utilities and gas costs as they use the facility." He said, "The church voted no because the women don't want these people in our dining room." He said, "That's what they said." He said, "We're not going to recover." And you know what? They really have. They've never been the church that they were since they took that decision not to take care of the poor and the needy. Jesus says, "Come, all you labor and are heavy laden." He was attracting people that they didn't want attracted. I thought about Micah. That's a beautiful passage. One of the Bibles has this as its heading, "Peace and security through obedience." But it says that people are being drawn to the mountain of God. Think about the people that are being drawn to Jesus. There is something about him that people can't stay away from. There's something about him that causes a woman who has an issue that makes her unclean to force her way through the crowd and just to touch the hem of his garment. He doesn't mind. He welcomes her. He heals her. He teaches hope and grace and love and forgiveness. And can you hear the words of Micah being echoed in the teachings of Jesus? Everyone is coming to him, to this mountain of God, to this place of peace, this place of safety, where swords are beaten into plowshares, where there is peace. I had just finished reading Micah when I headed over to the school on Tuesday to pick up the king's kids for wings. And I have to get there at 2:30, although school doesn't get out till 3:10, in order to park close enough to the school that I don't have to walk half a mile and then bring the kids back with me a half a mile. And by 2:45, they have a police officer out in the road directing traffic so that parents don't push in to try to get their kids. I mean, it's probably in every school that goes this way. But I thought about that. When I grew up, of course it was in the dark ages, but if we lived within a mile of the school, we walked. I never saw parents show up to walk their kid home from school. It meant if a parent showed up, it meant that we were in big trouble. But now you can't walk by yourselves a couple blocks. Don't we long for that day of Micah when we will lay down and be at peace one with another? When there are no longer the need for gated communities. And Jesus comes and teaches compassion. He invites the outsiders in. He's saying that they're welcome to the banquet of God. Come. It's not the ones that are outside that are complaining. It's the ones who are inside trying to keep the outsiders out. But Jesus is welcoming you. They're crashing their party and they don't like it. We need to live like the world is watching us. What does the world see as we refuse to get along with one another as Christians? What does the world see when we continually divide rather than trying to find common ground on which to build? Billy Graham's funeral was on Friday. I found a quote that Billy gave, I think it was about 10, 12 years ago, before the Parkinson's began to really take hold of his body. And these are Billy's words. When we don't answer Christ's call to do justice and love mercy, when we don't feed the hungry and house the homeless, when we don't welcome and care for the outcast, we sin. And the Bible promises that we will be judged for that sin. Imagine if we concentrated on doing justice and loving mercy, or feeding the hungry and housing the homeless and welcoming the outcast. We wouldn't have time to fight. The world is watching. What do they see? Shall we pray? Open our eyes, Lord, that we might see us as the world sees us. We pray that they see us as a people filled with love and compassion, with hope and grace, with forgiveness and mercy, with the arms of the prodigal father open wide. Welcome the prodigal home. Open our eyes. In Jesus' name.